Welcome back, everyone, to another Company of Heroes 2 replay cast, and this time it is going to be a 4v4, as you can see on Lien Forest. More Lien Forest. That's not what my life needed right about now. Anyway, it's going to be sent in by Kiryu-sen. He is playing as the Brits. His buddies are Koala Soviets, Psylo Americans, and Virus Soviets, the revolutionary virus. Waldo, Wehrmacht, Chief, OKW, Chief Keef, Villains, and Killer Virus, all OKW, so 3 OKW plus 1 Wehrmacht versus 2 Soviets, 1 British, and 1 American. Alright, so Kiryu-sen is going to head off towards the town. Of course, everyone likes the town. That is just, you know, it's just life. Town is there, and his enemies are gonna do basically the same thing. Some of them, at least we see the OKW coming in, and yeah, let's just speed it up. It's just the beginning of Lien Forest. You've all seen this map 700 times. I don't need to explain anything to you. All right, so we have actually got a first bit of engagement with some infantry sections, and of course the Volksgrenadiers just kind of slugging it out, but it's a little bit too far away from each other. All right, looks like we have a bit of a fight. Volksgrenadiers and Sturmpaus closing into very close range with these re-echelon troops and forcing them back. Easy peasy. So it looks like the forest starting off pretty good for the Germans, even getting the MG42 machine gun into a good position to get a suppression off on these riflemen. And this is not looking that good for Psylo. Right now he's getting his forces forced back, and his buddy over here, Virus, is only now coming in with a Pino squad and a clown car that he has built. But the clown car is a very, very, very poor choice for the right side forest, because there's just way too much stuff over here that can prevent you from using that clown car well. Too much blocking for the pathfinding of the clown car. So it's actually going to be hard for the clown car to make a bit of an impact. And right now, as you can see, this M1 mortar is trying to move up, and that's in a bad position. It's in a very, very bad position with the Sturmpioneers barreling down upon it. So as you can see, yeah, it's just, yeah, there's just a tiny bit of a passage, and the clown car has to wade across, and then maybe it gets caught. Maybe there's a Panzerfaust, who knows? It's not good. Anyways, on the left-hand side, it looks like the Vickers machine gun from Kiryu-sen is doing quite well, except it's burning. So right now, it's gonna have to find some way to escape out of there. It's taking a lot of damage, but he hasn't died, and he's managed to get some good suppression off on some Volksgrenadiers and the Sturmpaus, making them retreat. And right now, yeah, along with the Universal Carrier, he's able to help out his ally to force back these OKW guys, and that's pretty good. Of course, if they can get this left-hand side, this might stimmy a little bit the fact that they're losing the right side completely to the Volksgrenadiers over here and the Wehrmacht player. So, yeah, it's going to be all on Koala and Kiryu-sen right now, and Koala is doing pretty well with 4 conscript squads. Kiryu-sen is moving in his Universal Carrier, and he's actually going to upgrade a Wasp on it, which is a decent choice considering it's on the left-hand side of Lien Forest, so it's a town. And the towns, we all know how good the Flamethrower can be, especially on that maximum range that the Wasp has. You know, just flaming the enemy at a relatively safe distance. So Wasp is going to just try to use this as much as possible, moving in, getting some wisps of fire onto the German lines. On the right side, it seems like the mortar is trying to push up along with the riflemen. However, might be a little bit too far. Yeah, right now it seems like, despite the mortar fire, the Allies are just gonna get forced back a little bit. And the right side is firmly under German control. There's the MG42 plus some minefields, just keeping control of that, making sure that the Allies can't move in, and the Reckenwerfer nails the clown car, which is then finished off, of course, by the fire of the small arms. Very, very well done by the Axis. They knew, of course, that you know, clown car was coming in, and they just went for the Reckenwerfer. Machine gun gets wiped, actually, in an interesting turn of events. However, one of these Pinos is in a very, 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 very bad state. It will die, and the machine gun crew might also get re-wiped, and it might fall back into the hands of the Germans. They should survive. They should survive. That's actually a pretty good win for the Allies, except, you know, they would have rather not lost that Pino squad. But, oh well, that's fine. Left-hand side still being kind of fortified up by the allies. And that's good. That's good for them. Right now, they just need to keep this whole area under their control and push up against the Germans, making sure that the Germans cannot really turtle up on these battle headquarters. Of course, we have some support guns coming in. We are going to have some medics and maybe some retreat points. Actually, damn, attempt by the Panzerschreck-equipped Sturm Pioneers to emulate the success of that Raketenwerfer on the right side goes horribly wrong. Need to be a lot more careful than that. Of course, there's also a Raketenwerfer over here. Well done by Killer Virus going for one. However, it's not enough damage to actually kill that Universal Carrier. KB-1 heavy tank. So Koala actually picking the conscript support tactics. Interesting choice. Not exactly the most meta commander ever, but yeah, I guess it can work. And then I really dislike the KB-1, but everything else in this doctrine is actually kind of decent. I mean, rapid conscription, conscript repair, conscript assault, incendiary artillery. Why not? I mean, all those are pretty good. You know, this doctrine is really lacking a howitzer, but with a howitzer it would basically be Soviet reserve anyway, so I can see why there isn't a howitzer in this doctrine. It's, again, it's pretty okay. Like, it's not the worst, alright? It can work. And right now, as you can see, the Allies are just swarming the left-hand side with massive amounts of conscripts. Clearly, yeah, keeping faith to that conscript support motto of you spam conscript, you win. And he might even wipe out one of those Volksgrenadiers absolutely gunned down in the rear by the glorious Mosin Nagant rifles of the motherland. And right now, he's provoked such a huge response from the Axis that are moving in with a massive amounts of forces that this guy, Virus, can actually move into the center and use his Pinos to put some pressure on this battle headquarters. Of course, the Pinos are actually very dangerous to the battle headquarters because they've got those satchel charges, because they've got those PTRS anti-tank rifles. So they're going to also provoke a massive response by Chief, who's moving in with 4 Volksgrenadier squads, no less than 4, and he's going to force these guys to retreat back to the base. If they're any smart, of course. If they're not any smart, they're just going to stay there and absolutely get gunned down by not only the Kar 98 rifles, but also the incendiary grenade. And this could be potentially very, very bad, but they're incredibly lucky. Fucking incredibly lucky, and all survive with a sliver of health. And now the German human wave is trying to turn on the Soviets. Nice grenade is going to be thrown across the building, you know, phasing into the next dimension and avoiding the solid building and, you know, forcing these guys back out of cover. However, it's not enough because there's the support from this Vickers machine gun, which is just providing a nasty amount of suppression, and the Germans cannot advance past this point. Right now, as you can see, another obstacle is going to be this Wasp carrier, which is taking a lot of damage, though, so the Wasp carrier needs to be careful. Because Virus was focused so heavily on the center, though, he has been neglecting the right side of the map, and no one has been able to push in here. Waldo has been able to make his fortress, his Festung, of the whole right side. Of course, this is kind of a blessing in disguise for the Allies, because Waldo hasn't been proactive at all on any other front, although Silo, the American player, hasn't done anything particularly interesting either. So it's kind of been a 1v1 of boring on the right side, while everyone else was really focusing on the center and the left-hand side. Schwerpanzer headquarters coming up for Villains. He's going to try to get that Schwerpanzer headquarters up. It's in an interesting position. It can't really cover too much territory in terms of the actual anti-ground fire of the gun, but it's in a position where it can kind of protect this battle headquarters from enemy advances, and I'm guessing that it's going to receive some extra protection soon enough as Killer Virus gets his own truck up, which should be soon. Opel Blitz cargo truck on the field that is going to be providing support, of course, for the Firestorm doctrine to the Volksgrenadiers with the MP40s. But Volksgrenadiers with MP40s against conscripts of Papashas, this shouldn't go well for the MP40s, but the MP40s are actually massacring the conscripts, and the conscripts, even with you know, stand your ground, they're absolutely losing that fight. I was not expecting that. I was absolutely not expecting that. And right now, conscripts moving up. They're trying to get some extra damage in against these guys. However, most of the firepower is actually going to come in from the Lee Enfields from the infantry sections. Of course, some machine guns are starting to come into play for the OKW. Right now, the OKW has managed to get their own structures up and running, so they're finally going to have some suppression of their own. Interestingly, the Allies haven't really gone for that much suppression, except for this Vickers. Honestly, I feel like if Koala had gotten out a Maxim earlier, he would have been in a much better position against this infantry kind of spam from the from the Axis, because they were very late in getting out their own support guns. They were relatively late in getting out those support guns. So honestly, some machine guns would have just done very, very well by the Allies. Right now, oh, this is not good. The infantry sections are actually in negative cover, and they're taking massive heat from the Flammenwerfers and the STG-44s. Just to add fuel to the fire, we have the Wasp just pouring in heat on the Sturm Pioneers, and the Sturm Pioneers, well, they managed to get a wipe on one of those infantry sections. However, they're also going to be forced away with that. And right now, as you can see, Koala's trying to come in and breach the gap with these conscripts, but the gap was plugged by some extra Volksgrenadiers. So everyone's fighting everyone, and no one knows what the hell is going on. Except the right side is going to get overrun by massive amounts of Nazis. As you can see, 3 Volksgrenadier squads plus a lot of pioneers of all flavors are just coming in, and these riflemen with bazookas are not going to be adequate at all to fight that. They're going to be forced away across the little stream, and the grenade is not going to save them. Almost wiped out completely. The right side has been captured actually by Silo, which is pretty good. However, this bunker is not going to be enough to defend against these German troops coming in from the flank. Well done, however, by Kirusen, going with a Centaur. The Allies right now have a triple cap going, and the Centaur is going to help prevent the Axis from making any sort of infantry moves on the left-hand side, providing support to the Universal Carrier, and especially going to be very, very strong at dealing with these Panzer Fusiliers and Volksgrenadiers. Because, I mean, the Centaur is just always pretty good. And also, Kirusen has picked the special weapons, of course, with the Boise T rifle sections. So he's going to have access to the Crocodile infantry tank later. For the meantime, though, he's going to be content with the Centaur and probably going to go for a Firefly next. He's got 352 munitions in the pocket. He could go for a Surprise half-track, which wouldn't be that bad of an idea. Getting some Vickers K to his infantry. And then, you know, having the reinforcement platform at the front line would be pretty good. But again, I would go for a Firefly and a resupply half-track. I feel like both of those would be a good idea. With all those munitions, you can spam out those tulip rockets, get a few Vickers Ks, and be happy. On the left, it seems like these Sturm Pioneers are trying to push up with the flamethrowers blazing, although they're going to be fought with fire themselves, and of course the Maxim machine gun, which wasn't completely wiped out, is just now going to provide some suppression against them. Support gun fire coming in, not only normal support gun fire, but also a little bit of the incendiary rounds coming from the Firestorm Doctrine from Villant. That's pretty good, of course, but the Germans are going to need to do more than that if they need to breach this allied fortress on the left-hand side. Of course, right now they're also managing to use that fortress to push up. They're taking some nasty fire from the Schwer Panzer headquarters, and the conscripts are getting pinned and forced away. However, the assault from these Volksgrenadiers of MP40s is likely to just fail considering the negative cover. In the meantime, the British are pushing up against the battle headquarters on the left side, that is to say Killer Virus is one, and with the Centaur supporting, they're able to do a lot of damage against the MG34 machine gun team. However, the infantry is going to repulse the infantry section attack, so not enough firepower from the British infantry to deal with all this German manpower. That is going to prevent the Allies from pushing up against the battle headquarters any further, and yeah, it's going to screen away the the Centaur, sorry, with those Panzerfausts, which is well done, of course, for the Nazis. Nice move from Waldo. Is going to actually push around the Allied defenses, which are kind of monopolizing the right side VP. If you can push around, of course, the problem is that you can get suppressed pretty easily here, but if he can push around, he can get into the rear and do that. Anti-tank gun destroyed. That tells us that a Raketenwerfer was likely trying to push up. I mean, he said anti-tank gun destroyed. So perhaps the Raketenwerfer was pushing up and it got destroyed, and then the Raketenwerfer itself, yeah, the gun was destroyed. I don't see the gun anywhere, unlike the 6-pounder, which just took, you know, some nasty support gunfire plus the Volksgrenadiers, but the Volksgrenadiers are not in the best of positions. The Centaur is ignoring them, though. Why? Come on, murder them. Oh, here comes the Susu half-track. Susu half-track also just providing nasty, nasty firepower with those 4 50 caliber machine guns. Lend-leased to the Soviet Union, and right now they're just gonna open up on these infantry support guns. Not really doing the most damage, but I mean, still being some fun people. Nazis down to 200. They really need to push up and get one of these VPs under control. Otherwise, they're not going to last that much longer. If the triple cap is going to be up for the Allies, which it won't, because here comes the Germans recapturing the right side, but if it was, they would have 3.5, well, actually a little bit less. They would have, well, yeah, 3.5 almost minutes to go. Panzer IV taking nasty damage from the Pino Battalion anti-tank units. However, thanks to the support of these bunkers, he's likely to survive. There's also an Ostwind in the area. Ostwind, which should do quite well against the concentrations of Allied infantry on the right side. However, it remains to be seen if the Germans this time can actually use the control of the right side that they have in order to project their influence over the center part of the map and help out the left-hand side. Otherwise, if it's going to be like before, where the Germans take the left-hand side and then do too much, well, I don't think that they're really going to get that much joy out of controlling the right side. And especially, you know, they're not going to really be able to do too much. Like, it's like, yeah, you have the forest, but it's not like there's that many resources. It's not like there's the most amount of VPs over there. The most VPs are on the center left. So, yeah, you need to be careful on the end forest. Don't over-focus on the forest just because it's there. However, the Germans getting out of Panther, of course, that is the OKW, the OKW. That's pretty good. That's going to allow them to counter that Centaur. However, there is the Firefly on the field as expected, and there's actually an Su-85 on the field for Koala as well. So Koala went for an Su-85. Kind of surprising that he didn't go for a Katyusha first, considering what the Germans are doing with all of these support guns, and of course also the fact that it's Lian Forest and they're playing in a city, so there's a lot of opportunities for people to turtle up. You might as well just go for something that counters that. Panther moves in, very bad decision, should have scouted out what was happening there first, and he's just going to get murked by all of the Allied AT. Luckily for it, it bounces off a shot randomly, but it's likely to just, yep, blow up from that. Koala nicely using his powers for good, and actually uses his conscripts to repair his buddies' Centaur, which is a very, very, very kind decision of him. Right now, as you can see, the right side is home to a bit of a Soviet push. Virus is moving in with the KV-2, absolutely murdering these Volksgrenadiers, and that's good. However, he needs to survive, and right now he's in a bad neighborhood. He can get flanked by pretty much anything, but he pushes up and destroys the machine gun crew. Probably can destroy the machine gun bunker as well, and open up the way for the Allied infantry waves to just capture the right side. However, the Ostwind's move is going to force away all of these PTRS forces, and the KV is also going to escape back to base. In the left-hand side, the Germans trying to push yet again are going to get forced away by all the anti-infantry that the Allies possess around here. And it looks like, I mean, there's not really much that can happen at this point. We do have a Katyusha on the field for Koala, just fresh off Stalinogorsk's factories. That's not a real city, but yeah. Okay, so KB is still alive, and KB is actually going to be from the Soviet industry, right? That's not a KV-1, that is a KV-8. No KV-1s, thankfully, for Koala. Looks like he's going to go for just the safe play of Su-85s and Katyusha. So, in terms of doctrines, we actually have conscript support, Soviet industry, special weapons, and heavy cavalry for the Allies, whereas the Germans went for Firestorm, Breakthrough, elite troops, and fortifications. So, lots of late game coming from the Germans with the elite troops, with this fortification, with the Breakthrough. However, there's a little bit of late game coming from the allies as well. Heavy cav, the Pershing, and the special weapons. So it's not like any side is really that much more prepared for that late game than the other. Of course, there's free OKW on the field, so late game is going to be relatively by default in favor of the Germans. However, if the allies can really use their tank destroyer as well, they're not going to be in that much of a danger, especially if they continue to steal Raketenwerfers. Well done. He can also destroy the Raketenwerfer with his Boise AT rifles, but I mean, to be honest, with 4 conscripts around, you might as well take that. Panzer IV tries to chase down the Zissou half-track, which might be a terrible decision because he does get to kill. But here comes the AT grenade storm on the Panzer IV, and wait, what? No AT grenades. That's lucky. That's incredibly lucky, because had that AT grenade hit, the Su-85 would likely have finished him off. I mean, the conscripts are Uraing past and trying to get there, but it's way too late, and the Schwer Panzer headquarters over here is going to put an end to that push rather easily. KV-8 pushing up in the center against some... oh my god, that is a lot of fucking damage! Holy shit, he literally deleted that Volksgrenadier squad. And yeah, pushing up against some Volksgrenadiers, predictably going well. And Bovington's Finest also murdering a lot of Volksgrenadiers and the machine gun crew. This is not a good day to be a Volksgrenadier. I mean, to be fair, it's never a good day to be a Volksgrenadier. But yeah, Centaur and KV-1 really providing a lot of anti-infantry, proving their worth. However, the KV-8 is likely to die right now as the 2 P4s get behind it. The Su-85 is trying to put some extra... Wait, what? How the hell did that just happen? So somehow the P4s got phased through by the KV-8, and the KV-8 is going to survive. Katyusha rockets falling on some bunkers. Probably a pretty bad target. That is, of course, Virus's Katyusha. So both Soviet players hitting that tier 4, making some good usage of those rocket artillery pieces. Koala also has his own Katyusha. Both of them ready to fire, and I wonder what targets are going to be picked. We do have a map hacks wagon on the field for Killer Virus. That is a very, very good thing. And right now, it seems like the P4 somehow decided to come back onto the area, and it died. Also, the battle headquarters just got blown up by the Su-85, so that is very good for Koala. Some good plays, destroying the mainstay of Killer Virus's field presence. And at this point, as you can see, the Allies majorly on the upswing after a few nice victories and a few nice wipes on enemy squads, so that is good. They weren't, however, able to steal any of those Raketenwerfers that they had managed to secure, or that they should have managed to secure. So that is pretty bad for them. Right now, as you can see, the house is being occupied by some nasty Sturm Pioneers, but they're taking so much damage from the Wasp carrier and all the various assorted enemy units over here. They're lucky to escape with their lives. On the right side is still under German control. However, the Allies are increasingly putting up pressure against them with some bar-equipped riflemen, which is fine. Holy shit, did you just see that? So, the rear echelon troop just fired a bazooka at the retreating, not Volksgrenadiers, the retreating Grenadiers, and the bazooka just flew past. A screen away, it hit the Panzer IV. They can't even see the Panzer IV. Wait, what? Wait, hold on. Oh, no, okay, no. They can't even see the Panzer IV, and the bazooka hit it. That's fucking hilarious. Anyway, as you can see, the Ostwind plus the MG42 emplacements are just easily going to be enough to push back these riflemen. What the Allies really need on this side is armor, and Silo is not bringing any of it out. We have 400 fuel that he's got in the bank that he's not utilizing. That is just terribly bad for him. He should be thankful that his ally has that Katyusha, which is now pushing back those Volksgrenadiers. And yeah, there goes that bunker. However, oh, there goes all of the Penals as well. Double wipe on those Penals. Absolutely savage. Second Panther for the Nazis on the left-hand side on the field. However, it's not in the best of shapes, and it actually eats an anti-tank grenade from the tank hunter section, and this is very, very bad. If the Sherman Firefly and the Su-85 give chase, this Panther is definitely going to die. Why aren't these two tanks moving in? I think this is a very big mistake by the Allies. They should have been moving in and destroying this Panther. And yeah, they're just going to allow it to escape. So let's get a little bit of a speed up. As you can see, despite the necessary gains by the Allies in the last few minutes, and you know, the fact that they were doing very, very well in the early game, the Germans are still kind of holding to what they have. 146 points left. They had 180 earlier. Looks like we have a bit of an engagement here. That's going to be the end of that Su-85. It's going to be the end of the Su-85. And on the left side, we do have the Churchill Crocodile on the field for Kirison, and that is going to be a very, very nasty anti-infantry tool, but needs to be careful, of course, of Panzerfausts and the likes. So the right side is really being the success story for the German army right now. 2 Austrians for some reason being there, and Waldo's really building up his forces, waiting for that Tiger Ace to hit the field, and yeah. Once he gets that, he's going to be in a slightly better position than he is right now. As in, right now he can really just hold down the right side against Silo. But once he gets that Tiger Ace, he can move up with the Tiger Ace and the Panzer IV to help out his allies on other fronts of the map. On the left side, the Germans have a lot of support weapons, especially Raketenwerfers and support guns. But the Allies have the nice advantage when it comes to just in general armor. Oh wow, that was a very nice Katyusha barrage. They just have the advantage when it comes to armor. As you can see, this Churchill Crocodile is just doing its own thing, and it's completely uncontested. I mean, the only anti-armor that the Germans have on this side is a Panther, and the Panther itself can't really do much because of the Su-85 and the Firefly being around. So, as you can see, anytime the Panther moves in, it's going to be like, oh yeah, I can just move up the Firefly and the Su-85, or just move the Churchill back to them. And the Churchill can just bleed the German infantry dry, already up to 14 kills, and probably going to be counting soon. Right now, though, on the right side, we have a challenger to the Germans. It is the KV-2, comrade, and KV-2 is strong. Although, I feel like this is a terrible decision to put it on the right side. It might not be. It might not be. If he goes on firing positions over here, he can essentially cover this whole right side. And that would be good for him. That would be very, very good for him. It would also allow him to fire over these trees and avoid like these awkward situations like this, where the KV-2 just kind of has to path around the tree. And yeah. That would be good. However, the KV-2 is going to meet some challengers. Here comes a couple of Panzer IV Aufs Js from Chief, and this is going to be a big Nazi push on the right side. If these two Panzer IVs can get in close against the KV-2, there's absolutely nothing that the Allies over here have that can support it, except for a few bazookas. So this is not looking too good for the KV-2. The KV-2 is in a nasty, nasty shape. And right now, as you can see, 3 P4s plus the Raketenwerfers are going to be surrounding it. But luckily for the KV-2's armor, you know, coming from the steel of Magnitogorsk, is just repelling shell after shell of the Germans. One of the P4s goes down, and the second P4 manages to get behind the KV-2, which of course is going to be good for it. But behind the KV-2 also means behind all of the Allied anti-tank firepower, and it's going to die. So that was relatively... It was, I feel like, not the worst decision for the Axis to move in and try to kill the KV-2 before it can do too much damage. But the execution was very, very wrong. As you can see, Chief has... Well, Chief now has the King Tiger, but Chief had so many Volksgrenadiers back at base just doing nothing. And Waldo also has some infantry around. So it's not like they attacked there with absolutely no infantry support because they had no infantry support to begin with. No, they did have infantry support. They should have just waited for it and attacked along with the infantry, because the infantry would have been instrumental in driving out these American guys. That was an insane stun grenade, by the way. I've never seen a stun grenade do that much damage, but yeah, the stun grenade completely wiping out the captain. Right now, there is a KT on the field for Chief on the right side, and the Austrian decides to kill the P4, even though the Axis are on the advance on the right side. Anyway, KV2 is going to be repaired here, and looks like an L2 Sturmovik just exploded there. Panther did blow up something. That is the Churchill Crocodile dead, actually. Looks like most likely most of the damage was dealt by the Rakettenwerfers, and then the Panther finished it off. But the Panther is dead, and Kiryu-sen has 240 fuel, so he can just replace the Churchill Crocodile as he kind of stockpiled enough. And his Firefly is still alive. The Su-85 line is gaining veterancy day by day, and that's very bad for the Germans. And yeah, the KT is back on track to being strong. And he's actually going to need to be strong. Sorry for the pause. He's actually going to really need to be strong, because as you can see, the Germans are down to 71 right now. And that's not very, very good. Not very good for them at all. Because, as we said, the Germans were actually doing relatively well in the last few minutes. They could have been losing a lot more considering their situation. So it would be kind of a shame for them to just kind of lose because of this. Anyway, we do have an attack from Kiryu-sen's infantry, which is going to get repulsed by, once again, the Schwerpanzer headquarters. We have a flank coming in from this Panther, and of course the KT is still there. The KT is going to be taking some pretty nasty fire from these Su-85s, though. One of these infantry sections is going to have to retreat out of there, and this Panzer IV is in a very dangerous spot because of two Su-85s training their 85mm guns on its face, and this would not be too good. In fact, he's taking some pretty nasty shock damage. Can they finish him off? Probably not. They're behind there. Here comes some British artillery from the base. Katyusha rockets into the advancing Volksgrenadiers, but the Volksgrenadiers are still getting in close enough to get some Panzerfaust off on these Su-85s, and this is not good because there's a Panther as well over here. So the second Su-85 just needs to retreat a little bit to get himself out of dodge. The first Su-85 is taking some major damage, and we do have a Jagdtiger around, which already has one kill on who knows what, an infantry kill. So the Allies are going to need to be much more careful now with the Jagdtiger on the field. You see some boxes flying around. The Jagdtiger on the field is going to allow the Axis to really destroy and put in the smack on these Allied TDs. And the central area is going to become a big playground for the Jagdtiger. It's also going to be a good counter to the Churchill Crocodile, of course. And with the support of all these units that Killer Virus has built up, of course, Veteran 5, Volksgrenadiers, Panzer Fusiliers, Sturm Officer, the Allies are going to need to be careful about what they do. In fact, as you can see, the Churchill Crocodile already taken some big damage from the first encounter with the Jagdtiger. The Jagdtiger, which is now going to push up and try to deal with this Firefly. It should be relatively easy for it, but it needs some extra support, which is coming in the form of the Rakettenwerfer. Of course, the Crocodile really putting in the smackdown on these. Oh, nice. Panzer Fusiliers wiped out. On the right side, we still have some attempts by the Americans to move in, but they're still moving in with just infantry. They're not building any armor against a Tiger Ace now on the field and two Austrians. So at this point, to be honest, Waldo should really be leaving only one Austrian and a few infantry units to protect this right side, maybe an MG or something, and then put everything else that he has into helping out his allies in the center, because his allies are going to need it, and it's not like he needs it all that much on the extreme right. It's like, yeah, there's some... what killed this Katyusha? I have no idea. Yeah, there's some Katyusha barrages falling down on his troops, but it's not like they can... It's not like they can dislodge the enemy all by themselves, you know? The artillery is good, but it's not going to be enough to really win the game on its own. Nice job by that KV-2 destroying the Rakettenwerfer, and now the KT is out of infantry protection. Infantry is moving up to throw some anti-tank grenades, but they're not throwing anti-tank grenades, which is very sad. Right now we have a flank coming in from this Panther on the second Su-85. The first Su-85 is taken down by the Königstiger, and the King Tiger will actually blitzkrieg away to safety. Always funny how that happens. And in the meantime, the PTRS, I was calling them PTRSs. The AT rifle sections are moving up on the Jagdtiger and the Panther, but once again, the Schwerpanzer headquarters prevents this from happening. Concentrated fire operation is finally going down in that Schwerpanzer, hopefully going to destroy it. In the center, the Axis are advancing very heavily. The KV-2 is in trouble, it's almost dead, and the Panther needs to chase it just to finish him off, but he's not doing that, and the infantry cannot do anything because of the fighting position, suppressing them. In the meantime, the concentrated fire operation is lobbing huge shells at the Schwerpanzer headquarters, and it might die. Panther takes some pretty heavy damage, actually, from the Sherman Firefly in the rear, and actually the British infantry is moving up, trying to get an anti-tank grenade off, and it's not going to be enough, unfortunately. The Schwerpanzer headquarters is still alive, but we do have one last shell coming in, and he pulverizes not only the Schwerpanzer headquarters, but also some Sturm Pioneers who were bravely moving in there to repair the structure. So, the left side holds for the Allies, the center is taken by the Germans, and the right side, I don't see this American push going anywhere either. With the Tiger Ace around, there's absolutely nothing that these bazooka squads really can do. I mean, they can work against the German infantry, yeah, sure, dropping a Browning automatic rifle in the meantime. They can do some damage against them. The Katyusha can also do some damage against the German infantry. And the bazookas can plink away at the Austin and the Tiger, but especially with the Tiger Ace, I don't see this right side falling anytime soon. So the big main event is going to still be the center left part of the map. And on the center left, we do have a assault artillery? Why? That seems like a waste of 200 munitions. You know, the assault artillery is really good because of the smoke. So you want to do it on a sector that you're going to be pushing on. For example, here would not be too bad. Or if you're making a push here, that could also be useful if you know that there's some enemies there. And then you use the smoke to push up into there. Otherwise, it's just a waste of munitions because the shells it fires aren't really worth the 200 munitions. There's a lot better, you know, there's a lot better value to be had in other artillery abilities. Especially for the OKV with fortifications, doctrines, zeroing artillery. So if you were looking for that, well, don't pick Breakthrough, I guess. KV, oh no, he's going with a KV-1. There's no point. There's no point in KV-1s. Like, it's not going to be useful against infantry because at that point you might as well just get another Katyusha or something. It's not going to be all that useful as a heavy tank because, well, the enemy has KTs and Jagdtigers and Panthers, so you can counter those heavy tanks. And there's not much point in AT because you could just get Su-85s, which is what you've been doing. And the Su-85s are actually moving on the right side, but he sees that there's no support. Actually, a flank from another Su-85 is putting the KT into some big trouble. The KV-2 is pushing up very aggressively. That's not usually how I would use the KV. This KV is being used essentially as a normal tank. What I would have done, to be honest, is just gotten him into a good position, such as this one, and put on firing positions, because that increases its firepower by quite a lot, especially its range. But I can't really complain with these results. I mean, the KT almost going down. But unfortunately, the Su-85 is also going to die from the gang rape of two Ostwinds coming in from the rear. And wait. No, Ostwinds! No! No, Ostwinds! The Ostwinds are actually getting kind of derpy, and the Su-85 might have a chance. Oh no, that's why. It's on focus sight. Yeah. Get out of focus sight when you're fighting, you know, a knife fight. Like, the Su-85 is already not that good at, like, close range knife fighting, but you might as well turn off focus sight for having some extra movement, you know? Yeah, the Ostwinds getting a little bit overzealous from that. They decided that they're strong. The problem is they run into other Su-85s, this time into position, and the KV-2. So they can't actually push up. However, the other German players still have all of their units. Looks like the Jagdtiger was the only thing that actually took some damage during that earlier fight for the Germans. Or at least any substantial... Oh, damn. These Papasha conscripts doing some nasty work. Yeah, that's going to secure the center for the Allies. Still, I'm kind of surprised that during this altercation at the extreme right side of the center, that none of these units on the left... Oh no, this Katyusha needs to run away. That none of these units on the left really tried to push up and deal with the Allies with a flanking maneuver. I mean, we see that the Sherman Firefly took some damage, so at least some attempts were made there. But other than that, it seems like the Allies were just overall unpressured and allowed to move up there. And there goes one of those Ostwinds, and the second Ostwind had already died over here, it seems. So now Waldo... Oh no, actually, one of the Ostwinds is alive. He's back. So the Ostwinds... I mean, oh, another wipe. The Austrian's not really the most effective at this moment in the game, but of course he's the Tiger Ace, so he's got no resources in spare to actually build anything else. And that's the end of the Universal Carrier. Is it worth it though? Is it worth it? Because he might eat an anti-tank grenade for that. No, okay, he didn't. That's fine. That's fine then. What is this KV-2 doing? Why is it there? And yeah, the KV-2's dead. Oh man, using the KV-2. See, it's called Heavy Assault Tank, but you might as well just delete that name. It's an artillery. It's like no, it's not really an artillery, but it's like it's a halfway between a tank and an artillery piece with that 152mm nasty howitzer. And yeah, you need to use it as such. Find a good position for it, plunk it down, and let it open up on the enemy. However, that's what the Su-85s are doing right now, and they're having some good successes. One of them goes down, but for the Panzer IV, I would say it's a decent trade. The second Su-85, which is the veteran one, is still standing its ground, however, against some nasty German offensives. The two German tanks that are moving up, however, don't have really that much infantry support, and so here they come, and here they get swarmed by Soviet infantry troops. The Frontoviki are just moving in with their anti-tank grenades. The Panther is dead. Well, not dead, but very, very nearly dead. The Su-85 Veteran C2 is also dead. However, no support coming in from the red player Killer Virus means that the Sherman Firefly can come back. The Crocodile was just able to fire on the Panther, finish it off. And right now, the the KT is in big, big trouble. Katyusha rockets just absolutely smashing that German line of Volksgrenadiers. And right now, only the Tiger Ace is going to save the KV-2, or sorry, not the KV-2, the KT, but we have a massive blob of troops moving in, just getting funneled into a very, very narrow corridor by the incendiary artillery barrage. That's not very good for them, of course, because there's an 88mm gun on the other side of the Tiger Ace, 33 kills. However, this Tiger Ace gets in way too close. We have rapid conscription being popped on these Soviet troops, replenishing all the losses, and the losses are being many, but the successes are also many. They're pushing up with absolutely no mercy on the Tiger Ace. They might be able to finish it off with the support of the KV-2. But in the meantime, finally, Killer Virus has woken up from his slumber, and he's moving in with the Panther and the Jagdtiger, trying to do something. But this Jagdtiger and the Panther are not really suited for this area. There's no tanks over here. These two tanks are pretty unemployed right now. They don't have anything to shoot at, except, well, here comes the Firefly and the Churchill Crocodile, but still. Once the Churchill Crocodile and the Firefly show up, the Tiger decides to retreat and let the Churchill just burn all the infantry. The Panther also does not move in. He's kind of derping there, and yeah, he's going to try to flank the Churchill Crocodile, but that's going to make it vulnerable to the fire of this Sherman Firefly. Sherman Firefly, which does have enough munitions for tulip rockets. And yeah, I mean, this was some pretty... I guess you could say conservative, to not use a bad term, play from Killer Virus. Like, he really should have been the one to deliver the hammer blow on the flank of the Allies while they were busy with all of this. Looks like finally Silo has decided to change tactics and strategy a little bit. In terms of strategy, he has gone out a vehicle, aka the Pershing. So finally getting some usage of his fuel, getting some armor on the field. In terms of tactics, he's actually moving into the center and starting to use some Rangers. That's all fine. And now, with that support, the Allies are moving in, destroying the battle quarters. Of course, the Schwer Panzer quarters had been destroyed earlier by the nice concentrated fire from Kirusen. Now Kirusen is moving up. He's got the AT sections moving in on that Jagdtiger. Damaged engine from the anti-tank grenade. There's a second KT from Villant, but it can't really do too much against all that swarm of infantry. Jagdtiger is now crippled and actually eats a concentrated fire heavy shell in the face, which does a massive amount of damage. That's gonna make it, you know, stay in the repair shop for a while. Right now, the KT as well, without the support of the Jagdtiger, is at the mercy of these Fireflies that are just plinking away at long range on the KT's frontal armor. Of course, 17-pounders slicing through that frontal armor of the KT with just absolutely ease. And right now, also the Panther is in trouble, because if the Sherman Fireflies can move up, which they won't thanks to the Raken River, they would have been in some big hurt. KT on the center, still vet free, still doing well. However, takes some pretty massive amount of damage from these anti-tank guns that the allies have positioned. On the other side, Tiger Ace also on the field for Waldo, but Waldo's really starting to feel the burn of the Tiger Ace. As you can see, he's at 71 pop cap, and he can't really replace whatever he loses. His manpower income is low, and his fuel income is lower, although he does have a lot of fuel. So it's really the manpower that is limiting him. Here comes another assault artillery, this time on a little bit of a better target, I guess you could say, but still not going to be able to make use of the smoke. So the Germans are down to 33 points with the right side firmly under their control. The center is pretty much neutral, but I would foresee that the Allies have the superiority here. As you can see, they have a very, very good position from which to attack from with this ambulance, with these repair stations. They've got the superiority in terms of TDs as well, so that's kind of making the Axis superiority in heavy tanks not as useful as it could be. And that is going to allow the Allied infantry as a whole to be in a much better position. Here comes some tulip rockets. They do not manage to get the correct, direct hit on the Tiger Ace, but some damage is done. Stuka zu Fuß actually does a lot of damage to the rifleman, but it's not going to be enough. Stuka zu Fuß, which, I mean, there's 2 Stukas on the field for Chief, but they haven't really been doing all that much. Chief, however, has also managed to get out a Jagdpanzer IV, so it's not like he's been slacking on the vehicles department. He's in a good position. Rocket artillery coming in from the Allied side as well, and the Tiger Ace is actually being blocked by the Jagdpanzer IV, and that allows the Su-85s and the KV-2 to destroy it. Right now, the Jagdpanzer IV is also in a pretty bad position. The Allied infantry is moving up against these German tanks that are now basically unsupported by infantry, and that's really been the big downfall. As you can see, like, these conscript hordes and the infantry sections are just able to move in among the German armor, providing some anti-tank grenades and some spotting to the Allied tanks, who can just sit back without any danger to their personal safety and blink away. As you can see, yet more infantry pushes, disabling a German tank and making sure that the lieutenant can capture the middle VP undetected. Of course, if the Allies capture this, they're going to be at 90 seconds, well, sorry, 91 second, sorry, 99 seconds away from victory. There goes the Churchill Crocodile, though. 99 seconds away from victory, a minute and a half, because of the 33 VPs left on the German side, and that's not good. Here comes a couple of Sturm Pioneers to try to rectify the situation, but some nice off-map smoke barrage is going to make sure that the lieutenant survives. However, it's also going to make sure that these these Sturm Pioneers survive as the horde of conscripts moves in. They force them to retreat. KV-2 is back on the field and is trying to push up again. I don't feel like KV-2 really pushing up is that good of an idea, but he's going to take out a bunker. M26 Pershing heavy tank, which is going to provide the firepower that can deal with this KT. However, the KT is going to be disabled by the anti-tank grenades of the Soviet conscripts that are pushing up, and that's not good for the Axis. As you can see, lots of damage. The Pershing actually aggressively pushes in, decides to get in close and destroy the KT. That is actually successful. That also forces the Jagdtiger to turn around, and he's taken tulip rocket fire and 17-pounder fire from the Sherman Fireflies in the rear. Very, very bad move there, Honcho. Turning around with the Jagdtiger, never that good of an idea. And he's surrounded by just a massive amount of Allied steel and destroyed. In the center, the Germans are trying to push in with Volksgrenadiers and recapture the point, but they're eating Katyusha rockets to the face. They're gonna go down basically like that, and on the left side, the Vickers heavy machine gun team plus the infantry sections that are blobbing up way too much, but they're still gonna be able to force back the Panzer Fusilier and the Oberfuhrer, or whatever his name is. What's the guy's name? Sturmofficer. Yeah, so left-hand side is going to be recaptured by the Allies. The center is still contested, but it's not looking all that good for the Germans, as their Volksgrenadiers that are pushing up just continuously get murked by Katyusha fire, by MG fire, and by literal fire of the flamethrower from this Crocodile. So right now, only the tanks are going to be left to defend here. But you saw what happens before to lone tanks against, actual combined arms. The infantry moves in, gets some sticky grenades off, and it's over. However, the Panther is at least getting some good results on this Crocodile. However, the Crocodile might be luring the Panther into a trap. As you can see, massive amounts of AT moving in from these infantry sections. Second Jagdtiger on the field for Killer Virus, but is it going to be enough? I don't think so, because at this point, really the inferiority when it comes to the Germans is not in terms of vehicles, it's in terms of infantry. So if the infantry for the Allies just continues to dominate over the center with 18... Oh, damn, nice job killing that Stuka. With 18 points left for the Germans, it's not like they can really do too much with vehicles. And as you can see, wow! Nicely done with that concentrated fire operation. Also, the Stukas being destroyed. Jagdtiger, which is being swarmed by infantry, only saved by some Sturm Pioneers. Panther is forced to retreat with a damaged gun. And only the fact that the Allied tanks did not push up really saved the German armor there. And at this point, yeah, we have Rangers moving in, and we're going to have the Conscript Horde. We have the KV-2 still around. It did manage to not... Oh, it probably killed the bunker, but then they rebuilt it. And, yeah. Waldo has been wasting a lot of manpower, actually, on bunkers, which is a bad idea considering what he, you know, what he went for with Tiger Ace. He's got 400 fuel in the bank that he could be using. What is it with people not using their fuel? Finally, Silo actually going for a normal vehicle, the Sherman. Though I would have gone for a Jackson myself in this kind of situation. More Su-85 is being built by the Allies. Virus just getting out those vehicles, and that's good for him. Finally, is he going to use... Yes, he's using the stationary fire mode on the KV-2. That's finally going to allow him to have some fire superiority over the center. As you can see, it's pretty nasty. Katyusha rockets just shelling the living daylights out of the German position. Right now, yeah, Allied infantry moving up to prevent the Germans from capturing the center point. The left-hand side is also being threatened by some German infantry, but we do have the Vetri Vickers there ready to respond with 36 kills and ready to get more. Yet more Katyusha being slung at the German lines, and there's absolutely nothing that they can do. So I would say that the biggest problem for the Germans was just the way that they did not use combined arms. Like, at one point they had the superiority in terms of tank destroyers with the Jagdtiger. They had the superiority in terms of medium tanks with the Panthers. They had the superiority in terms of heavy tanks with the KTs and the Tiger Ace. So, as always, they had better tanks. I mean, that's obvious. But then you had the guy that was most specialized in AT just kind of sit around on the left-hand side, really not doing too much. You had the guy with the Tiger Ace sitting around on the right side, and with the two Austins, so specialized more in anti-infantry, doing pretty much nothing on the right side, while there were hordes of Allied conscripts pushing up in the center that could have been dealt with by his Ostwinds and his Tiger Ace. Also, in the meantime, the Jagdtiger could have dealt some nasty blows to the Allied TD force that was helping to hold the center against the guys with the Panthers and the P4s, so the guys with the more versatile tanks. And if that Jagdtiger had been there in the center to help out a little bit more with some extra infantry support, I don't really foresee how Fireflies and Su-85s would have been able to, you know, handle that. So the Allies would likely have been forced to kind of fall back onto medium tanks to try to get some good flanking maneuvers off on the Jagdtiger and reclaim the initiative. However, they were not able to do that. I mean, the Germans. They just kind of kept the Jagdtiger back, not really doing too much. Without that much infantry support, at one point, the Allies were just able to move against it and force it back. You may remember when there was that artillery strike over here. That allowed the Allies just the time to push up with the rest of the forces, deal some pretty nasty blows to the Axis, and the Axis as a whole were never able to put up a cohesive front. As you can see, the Allies, there's units from 3 players in just this one screenshot. And, actually, no, from all 4 players in just this one screenshot. And, well, the Germans were never really able to do the same. They always had one guy, Waldo, on the right side, just kind of sometimes doing nothing. In the end, he did manage to get some support to his friends, but it was too little too late. And he didn't really have a good firm footing of what the situation was there. The KT did relatively well, but The Stukas were not nearly as effective as the Katyusha, of course. That's, of course, one big problem for the Axis. So perhaps Chief honestly should have gone with a LFH artillery howitzer. Get him some veterancy, get him the counter battery mode, and start to smash some of these fragile rocket launchers. Honestly, that might have been a good idea for him. Instead of pursuing, Volksgrandier spam or whatever. And then the third OKW player, Villant, he just didn't have the best of games. I mean, at one point he managed to get a KT and it got destroyed. At one point he had a Panther, it died. He just didn't have a good game. It was just pretty sad. Killer Virus, I've already talked about him, and yeah, that's about it. So I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. I will remind you that in the description will be the email for my channel. If you have any replays that you enjoy, please submit them, and I will see you soon.